It's
degrees.
very sensitive.
All right.
I didn't know this was an issue. We could have
Are we-
stripped that down and.
Are we ready to record?
No, the recorder's not working.
You just tell me when we're ready to go and I'll start the meeting.
Well, let me
As
see.
long as you've got something going over there, then
We
we'll
got
have it
going
on
on here.
audio. So you go whenever you need to go.
Let me go down and see if I can find another cord.
But go ahead
I'll
and
be back.
start.
What's that?
You can go ahead and start on time.
I've got 9 o'clock. We'll call the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
DeCook,
Here.
Peter,
Here.
McIntyre.
Here.
Okay, we have a quorum. First on the agenda is the consent agenda. All items listed under the consent agenda will be enacted by one motion. A, approve Class C beer permit to Thirsty Pigs LLC. B, approve wage increase for Johnny Graham, clerk's recorder's office, effective 5/1/2021.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Roll call, please.
DeCook,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
McIntyre.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next on our agenda is consider statement of understanding for the staffing positions with CICS, Central Iowa Community Services, with possible action. Good morning, Betsy.
Good morning.
Betsy.
All right, so every year we come with a statement of understanding from between CACS and the county. So these are just to set what percent of our salary and benefits are going to be paid out of CICS funds, which is the local county Fund 10. So this will change in the future as the legislation changed, assuming that the governor signs Senate File 619. But for next year, we'll still maintain these. There are some changes. So I'm moving from 85% out of the region to 95%. This is a change that's going across the board with administrative team members within the region. So just really feel like the stuff that we do that's not mental health, disability services is pretty minimal. It's more incidental. And so this is kind of more accurately reflecting the time being spent. Eliza Howard. Oh,
We
go ahead.
get you less.
In theory, none of what I do will change. The percentage is changing. Last year, so I was previously at 90% last year, or this current fiscal year, I guess, for the end of, but I dropped it down to 85 because I was doing some of the helping with Madison County, and we have that 2080 for me to help with Madison County. That 2080 isn't changing or anything, but really, it's a better reflection of what's occurring. So, yep. Then the next one is Liza Howard. So that is changing as well. I guess to kind of maybe take a step back. So as was on your agenda on Tuesday, Mallory Wells in our office has transferred out to conservation. So she was split 50% region, 50% county or general assistance. With that, with her leaving our office, it's my intent at this point not to fill that position. As you know, we have been, you see the general assistance report every month, our budget is way down. Our spending in our budget is way down. And we're just not having the applicants at this point. We've, since the pandemic began, we continue to think, okay, when is the general assistance budget gonna get hit? When's it gonna get hit? Like, okay, it's gonna be in July of last year, and then it's gonna be, but we just haven't seen it. Because there are so many CARES and COVID dollars out there, I think that that's part of it. We keep thinking that at some point our office will see a large influx, but we just haven't seen it. And to the point where we've seen such a reduction. And so it's difficult for me to justify continuing to have that position. There's just not, we still have Sandy Kate, who is 50% general assistance in our office, so she works part-time for us. I am adjusting her hours starting next week to cover Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Monday full day, half day, Wednesday, full day, Friday, rather than Tuesday, half day, Wednesday, and Thursday. Just to kind of try to hit more of our busy days, as well as to better spread out her time within the week. But so then what I want to do though is to add 5% of Liza's time into general assistance to help cover that little bit of gap, especially for those days that Sandy isn't working. So that's the change why it went from 100% in the region to 95. Again, it's kind of an incidental amount. I would like to at some point, if we need to revisit that position, revisit it. I don't think it's a full-time position long-term, but we'll see. I guess I am a big believer in we can always add staff. It's really hard to reduce, and I don't want staff sitting. And so that's kind of why I'm looking at what I am. So,
Okay.
Just as a flag. And then Jess Vandervoort, she's our local service coordinator, and hers would remain at 100%. And so again, there isn't one for Mallory because she made that transition out to conservation. So. Any questions?
No, I just have a comment. I commend you for really looking at how the time's spent and trying to get an accurate reflection. I also think it's really important, and the other department heads, I hope they hear this. I think sometimes the county can get a little territorial. Like you have staff, you don't want to go reduce staff, even if it warrants it, because at some point in the future, it might, you need staff again. And then I think historically people took the impression that if my budget decreases under this board, I'm not going to be able to ever recoup those funds in the event that we need stuff. So it's better just to keep someone, even if it's not they're not putting in a full 8 hours, every day. And so I think it's really impressive that you're there, and I will certainly tell you, well, I'm on the board, and I'll be happy to be flexible in the event that changes and you need someone to come in part-time or whatever you think's appropriate. We can revisit that, and you'll have my vote on that. But I think it's pretty impressive that we're not just keeping status quo to keep the status quo.
Yeah, I just hate seeing staff sit. I feel like when staff sits and they don't have anything to do, that's when trouble starts.
Yep.
And so for me, and I guess I just always feel like that I hope that I earn any board's respect, yours
Sure.
as well as anybody else's, that if I come to you and say that I need staff, you see that I've reduced it so that I really do need it, because that is my perspective about things. So but I appreciate that.
It's the right way to do it. So, do we need a motion to adopt the statement of understanding?
To sign, for the chair to sign.
Okay. I'll make the motion to adopt the statement of understanding for staffing positions with CICS, authorizing chair to sign. Do we have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
DeCook,
Aye.
Heater,
Aye.
McIntyre.
Motion carries.
Great, thank you very much, I appreciate it.
Thanks for being here, good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you guys as well.
Third on the agenda, it looks like some requests for possible change orders. Darren.
Yep, these are multiple change orders that have been on our radar screen. You've been getting the emails, notifications. I don't know how much information, how much detail you need. I'll go through just generally. I'll do these all just quickly because I know we're under a little time constraint, but as you have questions, fire them away. Change order number 55, they had to add some aluminum openings, glass enclosures. These are, this one is an owner-driven change order to put in some glass into the furniture walls. We've made a decision to put stick walls in this particular location instead of furniture walls. It saved money on the front end, but then there were some changes that needed to be done reflected in this change order.
What is the cost or proposed cost of 55?
$18,195. Change order 56, there's basically 5 different changes within this. There was some modifications to some transaction windows in the furniture walls. When we did that down in zoning, our people asked to do business with the public in that way through the transaction windows. So that was done in the clerk, attorney, and emergency management locations. There's a modification to a day room shower in room number 2212 and some epoxy coating. Adding some privacy panels to the visitation rooms. A lot of this goes back to when our project was originally designed. We didn't really have the answers on how we wanted things to look, and as the project went along, we had determined, well, we want some transaction windows. We want this visitation room to be more private, and the majority is just kind of what we wanted as we were making our decisions. And then the last three, well, the next
And
two,
what was the cost of 56
Yeah.
proposed?
48,286.55.
I disagree with that. I know for a fact that emergency management had a window in theirs in the very beginning, so.
So you disagree that we're putting a new window in emergency management?
That it was a new thing as we went along.
Okay. All right.
And that's owner driven as well, correct?
Correct.
Convenient.
Okay, C, 57.
57 and 58 were just modifications to the sheriff's office. Sheriff had changed, he had eliminated an office about before I got here. And these are just things that they realized they needed to do to eliminate the office that they weren't aware of at the time. 57 is $9,278.51, and 58 is $1,941.50. And then change order 59 is, this is all the security equipment that when you enter into the Justice Center, when it opens up, we'll have the ability to have a metal detection system, scanning systems. And this was a meeting that happened, maybe you guys were involved in what this is, but this is some higher level sophisticated equipment, more so than what we have out in our current courtroom facility. And we've been talking about this all along. It was not included in the original scope of the work, scope of the project. And I think it's been brought to the board multiple times. The amount is $93,730.18.
And that's the front scanners.
Yeah, that's the front, like metal detector. Like if you go into a federal building or some of the bigger counties, jails, there's gonna be deputies, security, and you're gonna have to scan your items through just a safety precaution to make sure that knives and weapons and metal aren't getting into our facility.
Do you know the remaining contingency budget?
About after all this, about 570,000. And I could say, our change, when you look at change orders and the amounts of changes, we're not. This is right in line with what we were planning. We're still strong on our contingency, and generally, just not while I've been doing this, but overall, the entire project, our change orders represent about 3% of our overall budget, which is a solid number and within our financial scope of what we were planning for change. And we're in I would say a solid position with changes in general and contingency.
I'll give you my thoughts. I don't have any issue with E 59. I think that was on everyone's radar. I give some deference to the sheriff because he wasn't involved in the process, and so having former Sheriff Voss making some decisions on ultimately what will turn out to be new sheriff's accommodations. I don't have a big issue with Joe making some slight tweaks to the project because I think that everyone looks at things differently, and he didn't have the benefit of being in those multiple meetings for a year and a half, so I don't really have an issue with those. Little more painful on 55 and 56, as all of those users or entities were heavily involved in the process throughout it. So it is a little more painful to look at what's 48 and 18 for some changes on some things. I guess some of these things aren't huge. The day room shower, I understand it as things progress. That makes sense to me. Some of the smaller stuff, like adding windows to walls, I mean, at this point in the game, I'm sort of disinclined to look at additional tweaks and tell them to go forward with exactly what we have. I'm not positive that $60,000 additional dollars for those sorts of things make a whole lot of sense. Aside from these 5, what else is coming down the pipe?
There's gonna be some.
Because that's gonna shape some of my decision making on these. While I don't have an issue with 57, 58, or 59, some of the costs in 55 and 56 seem like they're a bit high and could have been planned along the way.
I think DCI would tell you in Shive that they were planned. There were meetings about this, ASIs that were given to the board, discussions around meetings, and I'll defer to you on that. I have no problem, declining any of these change orders, but a lot of it. But the pushback from our construction manager and potentially our architect is, so you told us to do this stuff. We've went through the process of redesigning, of rebidding on your direction from the county, and now you're saying no, which is okay because we paid for those designs. We paid, we're not any way you want to do it is fine.
Yeah, I'm not adamantly opposed to it. I just need to get a better sense of, okay, so contingency budget looks like 570 if all 5 of these happen.
Yeah.
What else is coming down the pipe, and are there any additional owner-directed changes? Because that's the area that we can control. I can't control if there's a legitimate in the contract change order. And I know that people don't like change orders. I understand that, but there's going to be some, and some of those we can't control. And if the contract dictates that we're on the hook for it. But I don't mind looking at those, but future owner changes, I'm curious, are there additional things coming down the pipe that are owner directed? I know we've got IT.
Yep.
And that's gonna be a meaningful one. What additional other than IT? Because I'm trying to leave some room there in that contingency budget.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of like.
Totally agree.
You don't have to spend it, you don't have to spend it, and I'm okay with not spending it if we don't need to.
There's just minor things beyond the IT that I'm aware of at this point, as far as owner driven. And matter of fact, it's been communicated that we're
not
ceasing and desisting all owner change orders if at all possible. So we've been at my level when we initially start talking about this.
The ship has sailed to
and
make additional modifications to your own respective.
The hard thing to understand is what the contract obligated change orders are gonna be. And I really do appreciate your, wanting to understand those. It's really a tough number to get to. But I think, and here's another issue. We're under contract with Story Kimberly for all these furniture walls, and it's a big project. There's like 400 panels that are 400 pounds each, and they're coming in on the 2nd floor. When we had a meeting yesterday, there may be some change orders on, well, we didn't understand, exactly how, why, and so we could anticipate some additional cost with these furniture walls. But that's just a thought. There's been no discussions with the vendor, supplier, but it's a big project getting these walls installed.
Did the courts make a determination, or have we made a formal determination on what we're doing with walls in the court?
Yeah.
and settled?
Well,
Some are gonna be permanent, some are gonna be furniture.
yeah, I mean, there were no walls originally, and you know the story with that. And that's another, I hope that's a change order that is in our budget, that we've already put in our budget, but you haven't formally approved a change order, the board hasn't approved it, but I'm under the understanding that you're aware that that's coming. And we could certainly, but yeah, there is some questions on electrical outlets, they can go in different locations. It has been determined in the bid packages, but now, well, we might wanna change this, or we may wanna do it a little differently. There may be some cost savings in doing it differently, and we're always looking for those, so those discussions are happening, as we speak.
I would just mention that it's my understanding that the courts did receive full funding, for the entirety of our walls too. So I'm not sure how that'll shake out, but.
I don't think they did, but that's not my information.
You think they pulled the 90?
They pulled the 92.
Did they?
But the good news is, and here's the other issue, there's $634,000 of AV stuff from the state. They did approve that amount, but that does not necessarily mean that the state, there's no contract between Warren County and the state that says those funds are gonna be dispersed to Warren County. So the next process is to get a letter of commitment from the state, just to solidify that. We don't have a ton of concern around that, but the right thing to do from a business perspective and a legal perspective is to get a letter of commitment on the AV audio, because that's a big enough number.
We had one back when I was
There is one.
in there, yeah.
There
Dory
is a letter
yes.
of commitment?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Made sure of that.
Okay.
I'd like to get a copy of that, Dawn.
I will
That's
hunt
good
one up for
news.
you.
It's good news.
Yeah, 620 is the.
Because Shive's not aware of a letter of commitment, and Doug Eichholz wasn't aware of a letter of commitment, so that's why I was concerned.
I'm sure we have one.
I know we have one.
Yeah.
Great.
Just trying to avoid some pitfalls.
Absolutely.
620 is a big potential pitfall.
It's a showstopper.
Okay. Crystal, what are your thoughts?
I'm fine.
Okay. I'll say this. And then I'll make a motion. One, absolutely disinclined. I know that we have talked about those. Still not super happy with 55 and 56. But we have set that process moving. And so yeah, we're already in for some of it, I get that. But I would like to think that beyond IT and what I sort of anticipate there, and I think IT's done a really good job of trying to work some numbers on that. I think they're actually doing a pretty good job. There might be some additional non-owner operator driven changes, but I don't anticipate seeing a whole lot more of these. Cause I think that we're gonna keep dipping into contingency until, and I think we need a solid amount of contingency remaining, because there's going to be some unforeseen things that we're gonna be contractually obligated to do. Maybe after IT's 80 or 90 or whatever it is, we're gonna be somewhere around 475, 480, and I'm just disinclined to look at additional tweaks of windows here or things there for the users at this point. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and
You're gonna kind of
I agree.
get what you get and be done with it. So with that, I will make a motion to adopt 55 through 59. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
DeCook,
Aye.
Heater,
Aye.
McIntyre.
No,
Motion carries. All right, do we have a motion to adjourn?
someone,
DeCook,
Second, and then aye.
Heater, McIntyre.
Aye.
Okay. Thanks all for your time.